What if the next big revolution in health isn't a new diet, supplement, or even a workout, but turning longevity into a competitive sport? Well, today I'm talking with Adam, the developer of the Longevity World Cup, where people compete to improve their biological age using blood biomarkers and other health data. We talk about how biological age is actually measured, whether these tests can really tell us if we're aging slower, and how this competition could help you uncover what longevity strategies actually work. So stay tuned. Just a quick reminder, before we dive in, this show is for educational purposes only. Check out the full medical disclaimer in our show notes before making any lifestyle changes. Adam, I just want to thank you for coming on my show. Real excited to learn more about your Longevity World Cup program. So I'll let you take it away.
Sounds good. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
You see, it's interesting that I think many people's trajectory is what you just said, that you start caring about aesthetics, right? You want to get girls, you want to get boys, but once you hit a certain age and you get a certain number of girls or boys, perhaps that number is only one, you start to care more about health rather than aesthetics. And that's where perhaps crazy ideas like mine, which is longevity, is coming in. I have not been doing this since the entirety of my life. I started out as a software developer, and my software became used by a lot of people, built a company around it. And after I exited that company, I was thinking, what is the thing that I should do now? Because I can't choose from anything, right? I don't have financial constraints, nothing. So let me think. There was a guy, so we were working on Bitcoin, and he told me that, hey, Adam, look, we already solved the money. Now we have to move on to the next revolution that haven't happened yet. And I asked what? And he said, longevity. In fact, he said it in Hungarian, and he actually made up the word in Hungarian. So that was really funny. So he sounded really crazy because this wasn't like a normal word. Anyway, I didn't think much of it at the time, but he put a bug in my head. He's making a good point, like technology is really happening, really exponential, everything. Like perhaps we have a chance of making a difference here. Now, my strategy was that I sent in a question every year to the longevity subreddit. How long can scientists keep a mouse alive? And for every year, I sent in the exact same question, and the answers didn't change. So I didn't feel the need to really get into, because if you can't even double a mouse's lifespan, in fact, the best experiment that we did that extended the lifespan of a mouse was to withdraw some food from them, get them to calorie restriction, and that's the best we can do with a mouse. Then that's not very promising, right? But even though the field didn't live up to my expectations, I personally was in a place where I could choose what to pay attention to. And I chose longevity, the next crazy goal. But I had a problem. When you come into this thing, you're like, okay, what are you really gonna do with longevity? Right? There is no revolution, no clear revolution that happened that you could work on. Is it going to come from the stem cell Yamanaka factors, or a hyperbaric chamber lifestyle, something, peptides? Where should you put your focus on?
Yeah.
It's very not obvious. Is there a way where you can actually put your focus on all of them, or no, put your focus on the ones that matters? And that's how I decided to work on longevity as a sport, as a competition. Because if you think about it, the people who are doing well in this competition, who are successful in reversing their biological age, they are the ones who are going to start the earliest adopters of technologies or interventions and drugs that actually is working. So if I really want to pay attention what happens in the frontier, then that's the right place to be. Not working on mice, and not eat healthy, work out well and whatnot, but like, hey, this is where the improvements are. This is where the technology is. So I decided to specialize on longevity as a sport and kind of built this entire niche out by myself at first. and then with a community of people who've been competing and also contributing to the Longevity World Cup and the Rejuvenation Olympics. That's the other one.
Yeah. So as far as like all the different things you're saying about all the technological things we have of your biological age versus your actual age, that kind of reminds me of like, I use the Whoop 4.0 and that's a new metric they put in there. And I've heard of that before too. Before you had to do all these crazy blood tests and it was expensive and then they'd give you your biological age. And now it seems like they're mainstreaming it. I don't know how accurate this kind of stuff is. So that's the other part too is, yeah, we're kind of taking this with a grain of salt and okay, I believe you, Whoop, that you say that I'm 39 and I'm really 46 years of age right now. Okay, that's cool. But I don't see any change. Like I can't tell. The only thing I can tell is like from my parents, anything I get them on to start working on their biomarkers and all that, when I see like older people start getting changes, now I start believing it. So some of it's hard to grasp unless you see it in the older generations. So how do you get behind that? Or what is a lot of your longevity cup focused on? Is it a lot of blood work or genetic markers or what?
So here's the interesting thing about biological aging clocks. At first, let's take the Whoop. Don't even have to go back to the beginning. But I think what Whoop is doing is that they have a lot of people who are using Whoop. They know how old they are. And they know how people who are in their 30s, what heart rate, what signals they tend to measure on the 30-year-olds. Now, if you're 48 and your signals are similar to 30-year-olds, then why are you correlating with your biological age is 30-year-old? Now, this was the earliest way of thinking about biological age. And Whoop cannot do better than this because, so the next insight that people had is that, this is cool that we can kind of tell how old people are, but ultimately we want healthiness, peak health, peak performance. Even though you don't want to be a 2-year-old child because their VO2 max is really, really bad. I don't know when your VO2 max peaks, but perhaps 28 years old, right?
Mm-hmm.
Something like that. So you don't want to be an 18-year-old. Their VO2 max is still not good. So you don't want to correlate these metrics perfectly with chronological age. So what can you do instead? Look at if people die, right? That's the hardest metric. So then you go back to old databases of blood data and you look at what kind of blood data they have and then how people died. And then you can figure this out that, hey, how likely it is that people with this kind of blood biomarkers, when are you expected to die? And from there on, it's just a simple back calculation of what your biological age is. That's the insight that biological aging clocks bring. Now, what's the problem with this? You see, if I measure what do you like to measure? You like to measure strength. You like to measure VO2 max.
HRV.
HRV. Yeah, there are some metrics. Those are like, we know they are clinically valid and they are like really useful. So, okay, let's build a biological aging clock from them. Well, we have a problem because we don't have databases that include the set of metrics that you really want and actually follow up and look at people who, when do they die, right?
Mm-hmm.
We have to go back to the 2000 databases to actually find enough people dying. So that's where we are. And I personally started to get involved in the research part of the biological aging clocks. And I think we can do stuff. I heard some theories that we can estimate some missing biomarkers. Perhaps we can do some mathematical statistical magic. And then we can have a really robust biological aging clock. But we are not there yet. Actually, I will work on it for the next year's competition.
Yeah. I mean, I love all the new stuff that's coming out. And I mean, we really won't know till later, right? So, but we're also helping future generations of us who are over 40 and aging, and then the elders who are 80, 90 years old. Hopefully they're trying their best too. It's just the more information we have, the better future generations have. So I love that we got tech involved. We got better measurements that we think, and time will only tell, right? So that's the only thing we can do until we get better research. And when people die, we can, like you said, we can figure out why. But so as far as Longevity World Cup, your website, like, so it's focused on longevity, all these different biomarkers, that kind of stuff. What is the whole theory of your website and your program? I had a hard time wrapping my head around it when I looked at your website.
We already talked about biological aging clocks, but it's important to say why they are important. So the whole field of longevity or anti-aging science, geroscience, whatever you want to call it, it has a critical problem, which is that how do you know when an intervention is working? The way that you know that people have to die, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's a problem, because then we have to wait a lot of time for people to die, right? So this is why creating better and better biological aging clocks are important, because if these biological aging clocks are improving, then suddenly we don't have to wait for 100 years, 80 years for people to die. So, okay, we just found a metric, a score that is super important. That is the bottleneck of the entire field, right? If we can crack biological aging clocks, then perhaps we can even crack aging itself. Okay, now the thing is, if you perhaps let's go from the popular direction, which is usually dropping Ryan Johnson's name, right? Ryan Johnson. At one point, I saw an interview with Brian Johnson. And are your listeners even familiar who Brian Johnson is?
He's the guy on social media that he says he's the healthiest guy with the best biomarkers on planet. And he's got a whole morning routine that takes absolutely forever to complete. And is that the same guy?
Yes,
yeah,
that's the same guy. So he's crazy, right?
Yeah.
And people consider him crazy. And one of the way how people consider him crazy, and he had a realization that, people don't consider his way of life, that he goes to sleep in time, as a proper way to live. It's because, what are you? You're not an athlete.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. and then you think about it. Hey, wait a moment. Actually, it's very acceptable for athletes to do really crazy things. Like, you go to sleep, your diet is extremely restricted. In fact, I punch you in the face. It's a completely unacceptable thing. Like, it's unethical, it's illegal. But what if we do it in the frames of a competition? Like in a boxing match, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's suddenly punching each other in the face not only becomes legal and ethical, but imperative. Other people are going to cheer for us to punch each other in the face. What kind of madness is that? So games transcend the rules of society, right?
Yeah.
And that is an interesting realization to have. People can do things in games that they cannot do in other parts of life. So that's why Brian Johnson is okay to go to sleep at 8 p.m. Because he's an athlete. And that's why bodybuilders can use a tren, right? That's the name of
tren before they get up to like TRT and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and that's completely normal because they are playing a game. They are competing, right? It's okay. It's completely okay. Even though it's totally illegal, there are barely any studies, only animal studies on it. And everything we know about tren and dosing and everything is basically anecdotes.
Yeah. And I wouldn't consider those things longevity. I just consider those things as competing for what they're trying to do, but that's not necessarily the healthiest thing to do either.
Yeah. So, but then what if we build a game around longevity, around improving your biological age? Then suddenly, if we transcend the rules of society and people really try out some crazy shit, well, that sounds to me like a recipe for innovation.
Yeah. Because now you're tracking all these people and they're putting in their stuff. If they, doing something where they're in the Mediterranean Sea doing a sea soak with sea kelp and all this, I mean, we're going to see their biomarkers. And over time, you're collecting all this data. That's some useful stuff.
Go do some stem cell therapy.
Yeah.
And then show us what you
improve it. Well, cool. So that's your format is you jump in, you throw in all your metrics, tell people what you're doing. It almost seems like a Facebook community of biohackers. Is this a game? I thought I saw some monetary aspect to it too.
Yeah, I'm an evil capitalist, so I would like to introduce monetary aspects to it in many ways, right? Like, there is no sport without spectators, sponsors, betting, right? But currently we only have an entry fee and a donation part. So the donations go to the people who are winning the competition. Last year was something like $2,000-$3,000 when the first person took home, who was Mike Lustgarten. I should mention this because this can give you an idea what kind of people are here. So, Brian Johnson keeps saying that, oh, I'm following the data and stuff like that. Well, meet Mike Lustgarten. For the past 20 years, he wrote down exactly what he was eating down to the last micronutrients. And then he's creating statistical correlation magicry and then following the data. And then he's changing one variable, two variables at a time. But it's not just he's saying he's following the data. He's like living based on this rigorous, meticulous plan of inputs and outputs and looking at statistical correlations of N of 1 experiments. And then now that's obsession, right?
Yeah. So basically it's a community. There's a contest aspect to it. As the host, you're gathering all this data, which is great. It's no longer anecdotal. You've got data of what's working, what's not. People are biohacking, hopefully safely. You always want to put that out there. But you got the extremists that are Brian Johnson wannabes that are going to do insane stuff and hopefully nothing bad happens to them. But what is the contest? Is this like a yearly thing or quarterly? And then how do you prove your results? Is this blood work and you upload it? How do you make sure people aren't faking their blood work? And, especially since there's a prize involved as well.
I'm not really answering your question here, but something interesting came to my mind that if people don't do crazy things and nothing bad happens, that means the competition is not working, not achieving its goal.
Yeah,
it's
not pure competition.
But yeah, so what's going on here? All right, so currently, every year the rules change completely, right?
Okay.
Last year we had a blood-based biological aging clock. This year we have the same blood-based biological aging clock, but that become an amateur competition, and another much more comprehensive blood-based biological aging clock coming. Next year, I'm planning to create my own biological aging clock that will still be blood-based, but also for the amateur competition, I'm planning to create a biological aging clock that function-based, that you can actually enroll to the competition with just a video tape of yourself doing balance and push-ups and whatnot, so we can verify you like that. And also, there are plans as soon as the competition becomes profitable enough to bring the entire finals into real life, real space, right? So we bring together a bunch of people who are doing well in the competition, put cameras everywhere, do all kinds of measurements, getting them compete. And that's like a real World Cup, but that's the end goal for me right now. But you also asked, how does the current competition, how is it enforced that you're not cheating, right? First of all, every blood test is public. Everyone can look at them.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not the only one there were other people who found mistakes, right?
Yeah.
I had to shame myself and disqualify some people. Not disqualify, just change some stuff around and down rank them. But anyhow, for now, I'm looking at the blood work. Today, I just had a verification call from a person I wasn't really sure that he was honest. Turns out a microbiologist and stuff like that. And my very tricky questions were well answered properly.
Yeah.
So trying to do these things when people rank high. But ultimately, if you really want, I hope you wouldn't do that, but if you really want, you could create your own blood records, right?
Yeah, just with AI, right?
Yeah. Now, here's the thing that I want to do in the future, which is a lot of people are doing biological aging clocks. Those are based on epigenetics. And they roughly work the same way that you do a finger prick and you send in the blood test. Now, the thing about that is that now you have standardization. So now it becomes much harder because the only way you can cheat there is that if you send in someone else's blood who is like actually younger or healthier than you, right? So that will help things, but also, as you might have heard just before that, hey, it would be best if we bring together the people who are the best at it in real life, and there they cannot cheat, right? That's at least the people who are in the finals, they would have like a completely fair competition. Ultimately, the final thing that I want to say here is that the lower you rank, the less scrutiny you will get. Even today, and the higher you rank, the more scrutiny you get. That's the best I can do for now.
Yeah. And say someone like who's completely out of shape joins this, and then Brian Johnson himself joins it. I mean, Brian's not going to win because, I mean, how much better can he get versus someone who is unhealthy, who's just going to do what everyone else is doing and get their biomarkers so great. There's no way that an elite person's ever going to win, right? And that's kind of cool, but also you think that a lot of elite people aren't going to want to come in because they're going to lose.
I have a number of interesting things to say here. So how you imagine the competition is that how much people improve on their baseline, right?
Yeah.
That's how you imagine it. That's how the earliest rejuvenation Olympics worked. It turned out, well, I don't know if anyone played this system, but they were thinking, I talked to them and they were thinking that they could just smoke a lot of cigarette, eat a lot of pizza and have like a really bad day and then send in their first blood test.
Yeah.
And it's like, so they dropped that entire way of doing things. Now, what I'm doing is I'm looking at the difference between your chronological age and biological age, right? Mm-hmm. Now, what's interesting here is that in no other sport in the entire world, here, the older you are, the better chances you have of winning because the more damage, the more years you can gain, right?
Yeah.
So that's how it works right now. And another interesting thing, Brian Johnson is not competing on the Longevity World Cup.
Yeah.
However, he's competing on the Rejuvenation Olympics. And he's first on the Rejuvenation Olympics. Now he's the one who's organizing the Rejuvenation Olympics, right? It's a $500 test, right? And Brian Johnson does 20 of these in 2 years, right?
Yeah.
Or every year, I don't know. But he does a lot, right? So now the more you do, your best 3 test counts, right? And the more tests you do, the better your test's gonna be. So people think that that's why Brian is winning his own competition because he can do this, because he's rich and he can just do a lot.
And he can lock in the best results per what time of day mattered the most.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then some people plugged in Brian's numbers to the Longevity World Cup and he wouldn't even rank in the last 10% of the people.
Wow.
It's like, I don't know, maybe he did some therapy that really messed up some things, but
or he just gears his tests so he wins whatever metrics or biomarkers he's going off of.
So that's why he's not joining the Longevity World Cup, right? If he would really try, this would be a really great comeback arc for him, right?
Yeah.
People, come on, Brian, come on, you can do this.
So for this Longevity Cup, it's done every year. We're at the time of recording right now, May 12th. Is this something that I can jump in right now till the end of the year? Even though I may not win because I didn't have the length of time to prove all my results or whatever, it still might be fun for me to do this. Is this something I can join now or I can't join until January 1st for the next one?
No, you can join anytime. So for us, it's the best test that counts. So you can just do a blood test, send in your results, and I'm reviewing it and we'll see.
Yeah. And then the other nice thing about even joining right now, I can, however many blood tests I can do from now until the end of the year, that's up to me. Obviously, it costs a little bit of money to do this as well. But when I have access to the...
Don't have to be like a heroin addict, you know?
Exactly. I don't want to have needle stabs everywhere. But the other great part about Longevity World Cup is you said that this is public information when you go on this, knowing that other people can look at your stuff. So we can browse and look at other people who are winning and see what they're doing. Is there anything else to look at besides their blood work? Is anyone putting like their routines in and what they're doing? Or people talking to each other on like a forum? Is it like a whole community too? Because that should be like, in my mind, like the biggest benefit of even putting in with this. I don't care if I win. I just want to see what all the winners are doing.
Yeah. So currently I've done I think I interviewed at least 50 people who consider themselves longevity athletes, right? I've done lots of interviews. Sometimes I created some statistics with AI, what kind of supplements tech would a longevity athlete take based on the transcripts of the interviews. Yeah, I think that most action around the Longevity World Cup is on Instagram, which was a hard pill for me to swallow because I never used Instagram before.
Yeah, me
so
either.
I had to figure it out. But yeah, it's like just yesterday, Simland, he's pretty famous. he just took the first place on the Longevity World Cup, and Instagram just broke. Yeah. Well, there is certainly a community. There is a Slack channel where longevity athletes are talking to each other. But I was always thinking about perhaps some kind of more formal social network-ish thing he could go onto the Longevity World Cup website. It's just if I build the wrong thing and no one's using it, then I'm just wasting my time.
Yeah.
But yeah, there is a Slack channel. That's the closest thing to a community.
Very cool. Or maybe something like people were real big during COVID, like having Zoom parties, as long as there was a moderator that gave everyone how much time to make sure it was efficient. That'd be something I'd be interested in. So, see what people are doing, get some good talk going, because it's a little different than on Slack and or Reddit and just typing messages where you get to actually talk. So I thought that might be a cool thing.
I tried organizing game nights 1 year ago and no one appeared. So I'm a bit afraid to do it again, but
that's fine. Yeah, just wait till you have triple the amount of people in there. That's the biggest thing.
Now
you try
it's tripled since then, or more than tripled. So maybe it's time now.
Yeah. Well, very cool. So Adam, just pick me, for example. If I want to join this, I go to your website, longevityworldcup.com, I'm assuming.
Yes.
And what is the process? I sign up. What's the first things I have to do? How do there's an entry fee. Explain the process for me.
So you click on play the game, right? That's the biggest button on the main page, so you're not going to miss it. And there you will see a professional and an amateur track. And you will see what kind of blood biomarkers you need for the professional and the amateur. The amateur, you only need 9. The professional, you need like 23 or something. So if you want to compete with the pros, then the blood test can get really, really expensive. Hundreds of dollars, 300, 400, I don't even know. But the entry fee is $100 for a pro. For the amateur, the entry fee is $10. So that's basically just denial of service action. So yeah, you just go there, check out what kind of blood tests you need, go to the doctor, get a blood test, send in the results, and that's it. You enrolled the Longevity World Cup.
Yeah. So I did my blood work at the beginning of the year. I just put in for one. My doctor
maybe
did
you can do that.
So
maybe you can just use that. Yeah.
Yeah. So if I want to start with the entry level one, you said 9 biomarkers, and say that I only got 6 of them done because I didn't know the other ones. Now I can use those tests because they were in this year, right? And then I do a third test. No.
The problem is that what you're talking about is combining blood tests, right?
Yeah, they all have to be done same time.
Yeah, I allowed that in the beginning. And then people combined the blood tests and some really interesting things were coming out, and I got really bad feedback. And entire competition, I had to change the rules that only same day tests count. And then the ranking changed, so it's same day only.
So that's fine. With my doctor, I use a DPC doctor, direct primary care, and they use a blood lab company called Ulti Labs. They're basically cash pay, super affordable. And so I think I don't even know how many things I put on my last one. It ended up being $113. So I assume that for only 9 things and you're not checking anything else, it should at least save some money doing it that way. So that'll be interesting to see the cost. Now we can just upload it to your website and just play the game, which we talked about. When you gamify anything, it just makes everything so much more fun and motivating. And then plus you get to see how it's affecting everyone else. Like, what are the winners doing?
It's even more important because if you do a blood test, then what do you get? You got numbers and ranges. Is it in the optimal or not in the optimal? But ultimately, you don't get a holistic way of interpreting that blood work. So was my blood work better than last year? Well, I don't know. Some things went into the range, some things went out of the range. Do I know? Yeah, right?
Yeah.
And that's exactly what biological aging clocks solve, because they are derived from studies that looked at blood tests where people died. When do people died? So we are having a holistic score for your blood, right? So it's actually a very good general indicator of your health to know your biological age.
Yeah. Well, very cool. I'm excited to test this out. I'm pissed that I already put in for my blood labs. I wish I would have known what these 9 are, but I'll do it again. No problem. For any of my audience that's interested, you mentioned your website. You also mentioned your Instagrams, where a lot of the action is going behind the scenes. Anything else that you want to throw out there for my audience?
No, nothing. It's just longevityworldcup.com. That's where my full attention and focus is. So please check it out and see if you like it. And if you don't, then send me an email and I fix it.
Yeah, that's awesome. You're also the developer too, so you know how to fix problems.
Well, better is better because it's fully open source, free and open source, free in a way that you can fork it and launch your own competition if you really don't like what I'm doing. And
Nice.
you can, it's not like you're stealing my code. No, I'm an anarchist person, so I don't believe in intellectual property and stuff like that. But the thing is that you can actually contribute through GitHub, right? The open source platform where we're working on. So it's so, yeah. If you think about community, that's another place to go because some developers are really geeking out. So there are sometimes a data scientist comes and drops something that's like, why aren't we doing biological aging code this way from the beginning, right? So there is
Nice.
discussion on GitHub, yeah, as well.
Well, I love that. Well, very cool, Adam. As my audience always knows, I'll put your website, your Instagram, anything else I find relevant in the show notes so they can just click on it. But this is why I wanted to get you on. Mostly, I get a ton of people sending me pitches and stuff, so it's hard to sift through. I can't do everybody, but yours was very different, unique, something exciting, which now I want to join in this. So I was real excited to have you on. And thanks once again for explaining how this works and also the fact that it's ever changing as well. It's open source. I can't wait to be at the top of the World Cup for this year, maybe next year.
Yeah, good luck. Good luck. That would be great. Then I would be interviewing you.
Yes. I'll see you then.